Hey guys. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Can See Spirits. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 41, Naruto's POV. Naruto grinned at Deidara as they were at the training field. Between the two of them was the tiny little sculpture of Kurama. Tobirama glanced between Naruto and the sculpture. This is a bad idea. Hashirama nodded in agreement. Both of you already create large explosions, both of them combined is just overkill. Madara rolled his eyes. Stop being so dramatic, it will be fine. You ready? Deidara asked, his eyes shining in unholy glee. Naruto matched the look, answering with a maniacal grin. Yes, I am. The two boys both grabbed the clay figure and started channeling chakra into it. Deidara put in his explosive chakra, and Naruto put in Kurama's chakra. They mixed the two chakras together slowly, keeping an eye out for any sort of complication or incompatibility between the two chakras. It was an hour later that they both fully put in the chakra. All of Deidara's and Ninetail's worth of Kurama's chakra was slowly fed into the tiny sculpture. The tiny sculpture was radiating Kurama's aura, which was currently glee, throughout the process, but as soon as they finished it synced into the sculpture and disappeared. Naruto, some black and darker shades of gray appear on the little figure. Wow! What? Naruto asked, glancing over at his friend. It looks exactly like Kurama. It does bear a striking resemblance to me. I would assume it is due to all my chakra we fed to it. Kurama spoke, his bug clone appearing on the ground lying down. He looked tired. Alright, shall we see what this looks like full size? Naruto asked. Sounds good, yeah? How big do you think it will be? Naruto gave a shrug. I don't know, what do you think? I was thinking about 30 feet myself. He gave a nod and they both backed away from the statue to give it room to expand, though they weren't sure how big the clay would expand. If it was Deidara's chakra alone it might be predictable. But Kurama's chakra was another matter, and it might not react in a way they were expecting. Deidara grinned and activated the sculpture to expand it. It rapidly grew bigger and bigger, and the two boys had to jump away to avoid getting crushed. When it stopped they looked upwards and gulped. The sculpture had become full size. This isn't good. Shrink it back down. The bomber of IWA nodded and crossed his fingers. The giant clay QB roared. Oh shit! Kurama spoke as the giant version of himself seemed to glare down at them, and its tails started waving around. One of the tails swung towards them and the two boys rapidly threw themselves away. Kurama! What's happening? My chakra is out of my control now. It's bent on causing destruction. The bug fox clone shouted back. I can't shrink it. Deidara yelled at them. Do you know a powerful lightning jutsu? No. Naruto shouted back. Run! Kurama yelled out. The fox roared again, its tails carving paths in the landscape around them as they dodged for their lives, running as fast as they could to get away. Get underground! Kurama shouted, and the two boys quickly used Otan, hidden in stone's jutsu, to dive into the rock, still fleeing through the earth. The earth trembled and shook around them as a large ear-piercing boom filled the air, leaving his ears ringing. The earth was heating up as Naruto and Deidara ran away. It was only after they had made it to cool earth that they stopped running and made their way above ground, coughing as smoke-filled air filled their lungs. They turned to where the clay QB had been and gaped. A half-mile from where they stood was a giant crater. Deidara whistled and then choked on the smoke that was slowly rising up and blowing away. Naruto Uzumaki and Deidara Bo! Anoki's bellow rang out from a distance. The two explosion users shared a glance and gulped. Think it's too late to flee for our lives? Deidara questioned. Naruto glanced at Tobirama's narrowed-eye expression as the ghost arrived and nodded. Yeah, it's far too late. It was great knowing you. Deidara said gloomily, despair filling his eyes. Well, at least we went out with a bang. Naruto said, placing a hand on Deidara's shoulder. Yeah. Man, just look at the crater. How big do you think it is? Based on the smaller explosions and how they progressed, I would say. Naruto paused, trying to recall the numbers he had once calculated. 1,680 feet deep, 840 feet round, and the actual radius probably spread out to 30,720 feet. That is if your chakra combined with it didn't make it bigger. Wow. Deidara muttered. Both the boys watched as Inoki's figure got bigger and bigger, coming towards them rapidly. Within another minute the Tsuchikage had arrived. What do you two fools think you are doing? We were dash. How could you even think of making a giant kyubi like that without informing me? Anoki shouted, interrupting Deidara as he tried to explain. I have allowed you to continue practicing your bombs, but I told you that you were to inform me if you ever experimented in a new explosion. We don't need a repeat of your C4 incident. I can't believe you would be so idiotic as to do something as foolish as this, Deidara. I dash, and you. Anoki shouted, rounding on Naruto. You may not be an IWA ninja, but surely you aren't so brainless as to think making a full-scale kyubi in another country is a good idea, especially with what you contain. Naruto looked down into the ground, wishing to disappear. Do you know how much panic you two caused back in IWA? People were preparing to evacuate and flee for those few seconds that the kyubi was there. What on earth possessed you to make a large-scale model of the kyubi? Deidara opened his mouth. No. Don't answer. I don't want to hear it. I have had enough of you messing around with these explosions of yours. You are banned from using explosions. What? No. You can't do that, old man. Deidara shouted back, his eyes wide. Yes, I can. You are focusing way too much on those explosions of yours. You need to work on your other skills. I'm already an A-rank ninja due to my explosions, though. If you would allow me to use my clan's kenjutsu, then I could easily be S-rank. You're holding me back. Deidara yelled as he glared. I've told you before that you aren't responsible enough to handle your clan's kenjutsu. You need to work on your other skills if you ever hope to take this hat from me. Anoki shouted back, glaring. Deidara froze, his eyes widening. Naruto blinked, recalling the words he had spoken to the older boy the other day. Naruto hugged his friend. Well, if you feel it is absolutely necessary to leave IWA, I won't try and stop you, but well, I've mentioned I plan to be Hokage, and was kinda hoping you would be the next Tsuchikage. Deidara looked shocked. Me? As Tsuchikage? I think most think that Kuratsuchi should be next. Maybe, but from what I noticed the old man seemed to be preparing you, that was my thoughts anyways. Every time I'm there he always seemed to be paying attention to you. If I had to take a guess, he wants you to focus on stuff other than your art so you can be better suited to protecting the village. Anyways, I was wanting you to beat Tsuchikage, cause then when we're the leaders we can have peace between our villages. Deidara chuckled. Imagine the other villages' reactions to ours becoming allies. Anoki had never given confirmation when Deidara confronted him in the office, but now he had. You want me to become Tsuchikage? Yes, Anoki said, rolling his eyes. Wasn't it obvious? But everyone thinks that it's going to be Kuratsuchi that gets the hat next. Anoki shook his head. She does not have the right temperament. She feels like she will inherit the hat, and is not working hard for it. You, on the other hand, never show any interest in becoming Tsuchikage, but you work hard to get what you want. Even if that is just improving your explosions. If you had that temperament for your other ninja skills, you could easily become a Kage-level ninja. Deidara seemed shocked into silence. Like you said, your art alone has made you into an A-rank ninja, almost an S-rank ninja, but your other skills are lacking, barely above Chunin level, at most low Jounin level. Just imagine if you improved those other skills to high Jounin, you would be an S-rank threat without furthering your art anymore. And if you have improved your art, then that makes you even more deadly. Also, what are you going to do if someone ever figures out how to neutralize your explosions? Without your art, what would you do? Deidara paused. Use bigger explosions? Anoki glowered at him. Which they already figured out how to neutralize. It wouldn't work, even using the C4 would fail if they were clever enough to charge their own body with lightning. Deidara winced. After they neutralize your strongest jutsu, and you've near killed yourself from using your kenjutsu, they would easily pick you off. Do you understand what I'm getting at? Why you need to focus on your other skills? Anoki questioned with a tired sigh. The older boy looked hesitant before he nodded. Yeah, I understand, old man. Good. But we hadn't meant for the clay kyubi to get so big. It was only meant to be about 20 or 30 feet tall. After we saw how big it was, we tried to shrink it. It was out of our control though, there was too much of Kurama's chakra in it. Sorry, I didn't think my chakra would react in such a manner. I thought it would be like the little bombs we make. Kurama apologized with a careless shrug. Anoki blinked. I see, so you decided to explode it? I didn't. Deidara shook his head in denial. Neither did I. I did, the clay version of myself wanted to kill Deidara and Naruto since they were trying to control it. Kurama explained. Inoki just sighed again and pinched his nose. Your punishment stands, Deidara. For the next year you are to not work on your art, but you can still use it in a battle situation. If you work hard on your other skills and I see serious effort, and you don't break your punishment, I will let you have your clan's kinjutsu. When Inoki first spoke, Deidara looked ready to protest, but when the old man finished speaking, Deidara looked thoughtful. All right, you're on, old man, Deidara said with a grin after a moment. Naruto beamed happily as Deidara smiled at Inoki. Inoki cast a look at the big crater. Well, looks like we got a place for a new lake. Deidara and Naruto both shared a sheepish grin. I may not be able to punish you, brat, but I will be sending a letter to Hiruzen, Inoki said with narrowed eyes. Naruto sunk down with a depressive cloud over his head. Gigi is going to scold me again. Again? Deidara questioned. Yeah, my last mission got a bit out of hand, Naruto replied, waving a hand dismissively as he stood back up from his crouched stance. Say, old man, how come I never meet Iwa's Jinchuriki? Don't you have two of them? Kurama perked up at this, looking inquisitively at Inoki. Han and Rashi left a year or so before you first came to IWA. They can come back if they so please. In fact, if they hear about this incident, they may pop up. They left to learn more about themselves as Jinchuriki and to work on their powers without inciting the village into a panic. Naruto's sweat dropped at the pointed look Inoki gave him. Now off to bed, you two, Inoki commanded. The two boys trudged back into IWA. Chapter 42, Sarutobi's POV. Naruto. Care to explain to me why Inoki is complaining to me about troublesome blondes causing him double the paperwork? The boy's sweat dropped. By accident. Explain what happened. Well, Naruto's POV. Deidara and Naruto continued to trudge back towards IWA in silence. I wonder why those three have been following you too? Tobirama questioned with a frown. What do you mean? Hashirama asked. Since we first came out, there has been 3 chakra signatures following us. One is Itachi Uchiha, another is a water user with a large chakra reserves, and the third is... Tobirama frowned. Odd, his chakra seems to flow in a strange manner. I wonder what the 3 want? Madara questioned, narrowing his eyes. Where? Naruto questioned, shifting his right arm slightly. A few hundred feet back. Tobirama answered before moving away towards the direction he pointed out. Naruto and the unaware Deidara continued on towards IWA, though Naruto did get them to pick up the pace a bit, saying he wanted to be rested before having to deal with Sasuke and Sakura. I feel sorry for you, having to deal with that arrogant, unartistic prick. Sasuke was the rookie of the year, so he believes he is really strong. He didn't know that some people actually act like ninjas and pretend to be worse. Plus my Bunshin and Henge isn't the greatest. Deidara gave a nod. Isn't he from some clan of Konoha? Yes, the Uchiha clan, once hailed as the strongest clan in Konoha after the Senju died out. They have a dojutsu which allows them to cast genjutsu with just a glance, as well as have a predictive ability. They see the tiniest movements and can know what you are going to do. It also allows them to copy jutsus. Of course, most of the clan has been killed by Sasuke's brother. Oh yeah, I heard about that, the Uchiha massacre, which made Itachi Uchiha an S-rank criminal. Naruto gave a nod and glanced at Madara, who was staring behind him. It seems that the 3 people would be making a move. You seem to know an awful lot about the Sharingan, Naruto-kun. Naruto and Deidara spun around and saw Itachi standing behind them. Speak of evil and it shall appear, Naruto commented dryly. Still, the other 2 who had been with him weren't there, and Tobirama was still gone. Obviously he was with the other 2 members. Naruto eyed the cloak that Itachi was wearing. It was black with red clouds. Akatsuki, a mercenary organization stationed in AIM with a mysterious leader. Even Naruto couldn't get any information about the man. Most spirits avoided AIM, which seemed to have a nest of strong filth. The ghosts that entered AIM never came back out. It was a bit annoying that he had this dark spot in his information web, but since AIM kept to itself, then there wasn't much need to keep information on AIM. Deidara gaped. We somehow summon him by speaking of him, yeah? Itachi's blank face stared at them unamused. Well, what else could have happened, less he was stalking us? It seems I will be able to accomplish 2 goals in one trip, Itachi commented, looking at both of them. 2 goals? Deidara questioned, narrowing his eyes. You are being recruited into Akatsuki. Itachi spoke, glancing at Deidara. And I am after Naruto-kun. I don't want to join your cult or whatever it is. Deidara spat with a glare. Why are you after me? Naruto questioned a split second after. That is none of your concern. Both of you will come. I think being taken somewhere is a matter of my concern. Naruto deadpanned, crossing his arms and shifting his stance to look more like Madara. He deactivated the gravity seal, which had replaced his weights, and prepared to fight. It seems that you will not come peacefully, Itachi commented, and Naruto saw Tobirama appear. Don't look into his eyes. Naruto spoke quickly and dodged out of the way as Sanban pierced the ground in front of where he had been standing. Glossing to check on Deidara, he saw that the bomber had managed to dodge as well. Let's hope the old man is still nearby, Deidara shouted as he threw out a handful of spiders. The two went back to back, Deidara facing off against whoever threw the Sanban, and Naruto facing against Itachi. Though he made sure to not look into the Uchiha's eyes, though if he did he knew Madara would break him out. It would still be an inconvenience. I recognize you, you're Kisame, the tailless Bijou, yeah? But who are you? Deidara questioned. This runt is to be my partner. Who you calling a runt? You're hunchbacked. And I'm not going to join your stupid cult. We are not a cult. A voice different than the first stated. Make this quick, we don't have time for a drawn-out fight. Itachi spoke, looking at the people behind Naruto. In a rush, Itachi came at him and Naruto dodged again, channeling chakra through his limbs in order to keep up with the former Umbu's movements. The bombs exploded and the fight was on. Naruto dodged and threw down some of his smaller bombs and then used a chakra-enhanced jump to leap onto Deidara's clay bird which the bomber had made. Katsu! The two shouted and exploded the bombs. Sarutobi's POV. You're telling me you encountered Itachi Uchiha, Kisame Hashigaki, and Sasori of the Red Sands? The blonde shrugged. Yeah? Apparently they were just there to keep an eye on Deidara, but after the argument with Inoki they thought Deidara would be a lot more dissatisfied and would be willing to join them. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Go ahead and continue. Right, well, after a minute or so of us raining bombs down on them while dodging jutsus, they managed to land a lucky hit. Naruto's POV. Jump ship! Deidara shouted. Naruto leapt off of the bird and winced as it exploded a second later, and the heat brushed across his skin. Let's split, I'll fight Itachi, Naruto said to Deidara as they landed on the ground. Can you handle fighting against the other two? Deidara frowned. I can hold them off for a little while. How long do you think you can fight against Itachi? I have a few tricks I can use, Naruto answered with a smirk. Deidara nodded and the two split apart before the Akatsuki members could reach them. Naruto in the direction of Itachi and Deidara went towards the Kisame and the third person. Naruto stared at Itachi's chest, avoiding his red eyes. In a blur, Itachi dashed towards him and Naruto raised an arm to block, falling into his taijutsu style. He knew from experience that he wasn't able to attack against a more skilled opponent, but he could block. If he got an opportunity, he needed to turn this into a ninjutsu battle. He winced as his arms and legs took the punches he was unable to dodge. Kunai were blocked with matching kunai. Shuriken stopped with shuriken. It was still a losing battle though. As the seconds dragged into a minute, he became more bruised, and scratches started to appear on his skin as a few kunai managed to hit him. Finally though, he managed to get some distance. Use the jutsu I taught you, Madara advised. Naruto didn't respond except to take a deep breath and form the tiger seal, sacrificing a bit of strength in order to make it one-handed so Itachi could not copy it. Katon, Great Fire Destruction. Breathing out, he unleashed a stream of intense flames that rushed out towards Itachi. A large area in front of him was covered in flames and smoke as the fire slowly extinguished with no fuel to keep it going. Katon, Great Fire Destruction was the precursor to Madara's majestic Flame Destroyer. Naruto had just started to learn the jutsu before the trip to Wave. He was nowhere near proficient in it, and so the stream was small compared to what it should be. Itachi's answer was a great fireball, and Naruto used hiding like a mole technique in order to escape the flames. Making a few clay and earth bunchins, he and the others burst out. Explosions rang in the backdrop, a constant symphony of bangs and booms, his only cue that Deidara was still alive. His clones went to attack Itachi, who seemed unfazed by the earlier fire attack. Concentrating, Naruto made the bird hand sign and made several large spikes protrude from the ground. Itachi dodged and closed the distance, kicking Naruto back a good 10 feet or so. He climbed back to his feet and saw that Deidara was 100 yards away. I can't leave the two of you alone, can I? Inoki grumbled as he appeared in the middle of the two fights. The three members of Akatsuki grouped back together, each with various minor wounds, as they eyed the three of them as Naruto and Deidara quickly went towards Inoki. Naruto and Deidara were wounded as much as them, but Inoki was uninjured and unspent. "We should retreat for now," Itachi spoke. "Agreed," the hunchback figure said. "TCH, I think we can take on the old geezer and the two brats," Kisame said with a grin as he hoisted his sword over his shoulder. "Not without undue risk. We have gathered valuable data that Leader Sama will wish to hear." With that, the three Akatsuki members vanished in puffs of smoke. Sarutobi's POV. "I see, this is worrying. What purpose does this Akatsuki serve? What did they want with you?" "I don't know," Naruto answered, frowning. He sighed. After the incident, he decided to see if he could use this to his advantage and have Itachi spy on the Akatsuki. But the boy left his office without answering. Granted, it was shortly after Naruto and Fugaku had left. Itachi had been silent after reporting. Sarutobi had never gotten a single report from Itachi. There was no sign that the boy had given them any information. He hoped that Itachi was still loyal, and was just unable to make reports. It was more comforting thought than the idea of him going truly rouge. It was plausible that Itachi was unable to make any sort of report. Even Naruto couldn't learn anything from AIM. "Say, old man, what are you going to do about the Chunin exams?" Sarutobi sighed. "They will go on. As you know, I have been preparing Konoha for the upcoming invasion. For now, we will continue going as if unaware of what Orochimaru is planning. I have received letters from the other villages saying what amount of teams they are sending. The numbers from IWA is larger than previous times we hosted it, but that is due to the bettering of our village's relationship due to your Janken tournaments." Naruto pouted. "I still can't believe they spilled the secret. How are they ever going to be good ninja if they can't keep secrets?" He smiled. "I could argue that they were being good shinobi by informing me." Naruto crossed his arms, a scowl crossing his face. "Kyumo has also informed us that their Jinchuriki is coming as a sensei of a team of genin. They are of course informing us out of goodwill. Eidano also made a note that B was badgering him because B wanted to meet with you again." Naruto's face was confused for a moment. "B?" After a moment the confusion cleared. "Oh yeah! The Eight Tails Jinchuriki. I nearly forgot about him, and that I was supposed to return to Kyumo when I was 13 to get further training. Wait closer to summer before you go to Kyumo," Sarutobi said with a sigh. "All right," Naruto agreed. "Kiri is only sending a few teams, as Meidano said they were trying to rebuild Kiri. She did seem fairly surprised though to receive the letter, or that is what she mentioned in her return letter. Sooner though is sending in a larger amount of teams and have given no reason as to why. Well, Orochimaru did try and get the Kazekage to agree, though he said no last I heard. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe. I wouldn't put foul play past my former student though." The Spy Master and Hokage continued discussing the upcoming Chunin exams far into the night, figuring out various protective measures and counterattacks to what they believed that Orochimaru would be doing. Chapter 43, Kakashi's POV. He looked at his three students, from the not really a genin Naruto, to the civilian girl Sakura, to the rookie of the year Sasuke Uchiha. It was not a good team combination. At first it seemed like it might be possible, but that was before Sasuke learned of the skill gap between him and Naruto. When Sasuke, though Naruto was below him, he was fine with working with the boy, but now that he has been proven wrong and humiliated, he is always angry at Naruto and refuses to work with the boy. Sakura, on the other hand, was getting better, as proven when they had made their way back from IWA, and she had asked Naruto for his thoughts on what she should do. Kurenai had come to him last night saying that Sakura had asked her about genjutsus. While Sakura had the chakra control for the art of illusions, she didn't have the strongest imagination for it, and so Kurenai had told her she would have more strength in the Iriajutsu department. Naruto, of course, was strong due to the Umbu training he had to go through, as well as the fact he had legends such as Hashirama and Madara to teach him. He really was only lacking actually combat experience. Now that he was going on missions, he was becoming a lot stronger. He had the three genin, from Sasuke, who was glaring at him and refusing to listen to Naruto, to Sakura, who was trying her best, and finally Naruto, who was trying to get Sasuke to follow his orders. He had taken a page out of Minato-sensei's book and tied the three together in such a way that they had to work together in order to escape. He, Obito, and Rin had managed to escape after they realized working together started to loosen the ropes. Naruto had realized it a few minutes into it, and had told the other two. Sakura had followed his instructions, but Sasuke refused to cooperate. After you escape from the ropes, you may have free time for the rest of the day, Kakashi informed them, pretending to be reading Ika Ika. He disappeared and hid himself in a tree. Only a moment later Naruto glanced at him. Kakashi just gave a shrug in response and an eye grin. After another 10 minutes he saw Naruto huff, shooting him an annoyed look. Kakashi sighed, "Go ahead and escape." Naruto grinned at him and then substituted out of the ropes. The ropes of course fell due to Naruto being gone, and Sakura seemed to shake her head. Sasuke was of course glaring. Maybe Kakashi should talk with Fugaku and see if the boy's father could help with the boy's attitude. Kakashi started to follow his female student as she went through Konoha. He saw her go into the hospital, and about an hour later she walked back out with some books in her hand as she went home. It looks like she would be learning Iryujutsu. Having a team medic would definitely be useful. After he saw her settle in, he went to look for Naruto. He knew the boy would know he was watching him, but that was okay. It wasn't fair though. It never failed to make Kakashi paranoid whenever he thought about the invisible spirits that were around him. It also was cruel that Obito was still alive. Kakashi shook his head as he recalled Naruto telling him about that, how Madara had been manipulated and in turn manipulated Obito. There was nothing he could do though, not until he could find Obito. He found Naruto with Shino and Hinata. The three of them were walking together around the lake with fishing poles. Soon they stopped and started to cast their lines. Well, Hinata and Shino were. Naruto walked a little further away and started to cast fireballs at the lake and grabbed the fish that floated to the top dead from being boiled alive. "You're right, Madara. This is the best way to fish," Naruto signed. Kakashi facepalmed. Of course Madara had something to do with Naruto casting fireballs. He continued watching as Naruto signed, apparently taking Madara's side against Tobirama, who was scolding Naruto. Hashirama was laughing at the situation. If Naruto's pouting and stopped laughing, Hashi-chan, hand signs were anything to go by. Eventually Hinata and Shino started to scold Naruto, saying that the lake had gone down a few inches due to him, and if he kept going he was going to evaporate the entire lake. Naruto's expression seemed to be caught between guilty and smug. Kakashi shook his head at the boy, an amused smile tugging at his lips. He had a feeling that Madara was encouraging Naruto to destroy the lake while Tobirama would be the one trying to stop him. With Shino and Hinata joining into the fight, unknowingly on Tobirama's side the scales seemed to tip into the Nidame's favor. "Fine. I'll fix the lake," Naruto finally shouted, throwing his hands up as he pouted. "I am horrible at water jutsus." Naruto moaned as he formed hand signs and spat out a stream of water. It took a good half hour for the boy to raise the lake water back up to where it had been. While he was doing that, Shino had pulled out some hot chocolate and was treating Hinata to the drink. The two sat next to each other as they watched Naruto struggle to refill the lake. Kakashi grinned and decided to go check in on his final student, but first a quick stop to give a gift to a fellow shinobi. That night when Shino laid on his bed, he found a bright orange book under his pillow. Kakashi hummed as he went to find Sasuke. After checking the training field and seeing the boy was gone, he went to the Uchiha clan compound and found the boy working in the Uchiha training field, an angry scowl on his face. He settled down and watched his student train himself in taijutsu and bukijutsu. After 10 or so minutes, Fugaku came up into the tree next to him. "Kakashi-san," the Uchiha clan head greeted. "Fugaku-sama," he greeted back with a small nod. "How has Sasuke been with his team?" "Not good. He refuses to work with Naruto. And as you can see, he keeps pushing himself to get better, but he doesn't ask for help," Kakashi responded. "I have noticed," Fugaku murmured. "He feels weak. He thinks that he should already be a Chunin and on his way to becoming an ANBU, simple because Itachi was an ANBU." Kakashi shook his head. "Sasuke is nothing like Itachi." The two shared a look, both understanding that simple fact. "Will you be entering your team into the upcoming Chunin exams?" "Yes, only for Naruto though. He shouldn't be held back just because Sakura and Sasuke aren't ready. I will try and train them up enough that they can make it through the team rounds." Fugaku was silent at that. "If Sasuke does make it to the finals, I will be putting in a request that he be held back from promotion. I don't want him becoming a Chunin until he learns teamwork." Fugaku sighed. "I wish that boy had taken more after Mikoto or I instead of my father." Kakashi winced. "I remember Minato complaining about him. Senbi, wasn't it?" Fugaku nodded. "I should inform you that Naruto had a run-in with Itachi about a week ago. So far Sasuke hasn't learned of it." The Uchiha clan had raised an eyebrow. And Naruto came out unscathed? A few minor cuts and bruises, nothing Kurama couldn't heal. I guess Sasuke was under the impression that Naruto was worn out from the clay Kyuubi. Clay Kyuubi? Kakashi shook his head. Those two boys were messing around and things got out of hand from what I hear. On another note, IWA now has a new lake named Kyuubi's Pissing Ground. Fugaku's mouth fell open. That Sachikage actually named the lake that? Kakashi snickered. Yep, I hear that Kurama is really smug about that. That fox manages to cause all sorts of mischief. Fugaku replied with a sigh. I can't believe Naruto let him wander around alone. I hate to admit it, but that fox has been somewhat useful. Since he manages to hide himself, he manages to see a few crimes with no one knowing and he reports them to me. Kakashi shook his head. I'm surprised by how non-murderous the fox is. Turns out he only tried to attack Konoha due to some Uchiha controlling him. Kakashi grimaced. I know. The two fell silent as they continued to watch Sasuke train. After another 10 minutes later, Kakashi left and went back into Konoha Main. Not really knowing where to go, he found himself in front of the memorial stone. Ever since he learned Obito was still alive, he found himself coming here less often. He stared at the names on the stone for a few minutes. You would be proud of Naruto, he's grown so strong. He murmured with a small smile. With that he turned and walked away. He went home and checked on his groceries, throwing out the rest of his spoiled milk. After that he went outside of Konoha and summoned his pack and took them for a walk, just enjoying spending time with them. Perhaps he should introduce his pack to his students, see how they react. Though they may have seen them on the wave mission. But that wasn't a proper introduction. My eternal rival! Guy shouted. Kakashi sighed and looked at the green Jounin, who had a miniature version next to himself. Hello Guy, mini guy. Yash, my name is Lee. The mini guy shouted with a grin. Kakashi just nodded. Right, like I said, mini guy. Curse your hip and cool attitude. I challenge you, Kakashi. Kakashi just gave an eye grin as he looked up from his book. HM, did you say something? Guy face planted into the ground. How about my student versus yours in a match of Janken? Kakashi offered with a grin. A most youthful challenge, so long as it's not Naruto-kun. Mini Guy tilted his head. Naruto-kun? The most youthful Janken player, he has never lost a hand of Janken. Kakashi just smiled. I was thinking of Naruto-kun, but if your students would rather face against Sasuke, I can understand. Yash, I will beat Naruto-kun in Janken. The miniature shouted and Kakashi and his pack disappeared before the boy could start shouting about rocks on his feet or hands behind his back, or whatever sort of crazily insane punishment the boy would inflict on himself. He walked back into Konoha after dismissing his pack and looked up at the setting sun. Perhaps he should go get some food. Entering into the barbecue restaurant, he was flagged down by Asuma and Kurenai. Kakashi sighed and made his way over to the two of them. Yo. Kakashi. Kurenai greeted. Asuma just breathed out a bit of smoke. A waiter came up to them and took their order. How are your students? Asuma questioned. Good, Sakura was at the hospital earlier today. Sasuke is training hard to improve himself, and Naruto was spending time with Shino and Hinata. I wish Hokage-sama had placed Naruto with my team instead of Kiba. Kurenai sighed. Kiba is a handful and doesn't know when to quit. Oh? Yes, he keeps trying to get Hinata to date him, even though she doesn't like him as more than a friend. Kakashi chuckled. She doesn't seem to mind Shino's advances though. What advances? Kurenai questioned. Kakashi blinked. Earlier today Shino gave Hinata some hot chocolate, and he was sitting really close to her. Kurenai shook her head, an amused smile on her face. You've been reading too much Ika. The two of them are just really close friends. If you say so. He replied doubtfully. What about you, Asuma? How is your team? Asuma shrugged. They're good. Mostly I just leave them to their clans to teach and just run them through formations to give more practical experience. That's good and all for now, but you should give them all something new so that way they can surprise enemies who might be familiar with the way the Ino Shikucho formation works. Especially with the Chunin exams coming up here in a month. Asuma gave a thoughtful nod. You're right. Anyways, I heard you and your team went with Naruto to his tournament. How was it this year? Kakashi grinned and began to tell of Pinkie Pie Sasuke, leaving his two fellow Jounin in laughter. Chapter 44 Naruto's POV. Only a few weeks left till the Chunin exams, Naruto said with a frown as he stared at the Horatian seal he was working on. He nearly had it complete after spending the last couple of weeks working on it almost non-stop. It hadn't been a priority before, but now it was, especially since his shoulder now had a new seal on it from where Tobirama's Horatian and the storage seal had combined. An entire new seal, and Naruto wasn't sure what it would do. He wasn't willing to test it either without some sort of idea. Tobirama paced behind him, his hands clasped behind his back, and he was rambling about the Horatian seal. Hashirama had a glazed-eye look and Madara was taking notes. How the man made a ghostly writing pad was a mystery. Now if only he could connect all of the individual seals of the Horatian tag, he would be done. He shifted the way the seals were layered with a frown. He knew that the chakra location seal and the blood seal should be on top. At the very bottom would be the time seal, with the dimensional seal on top of it. He needed to figure out the order of the middle section though. The comfort seal would best be the top, then the transport seal, and under it should probably be the assembly seal and then the disassembling seal. So the order from top to bottom would be chakra location seal, blood connector seal, comfort seal, the transport seal, the assembly seal, the disassembly seal, the dimensional seal, and then the time seal. That would layer the seals from the more common seals to the advanced ones. Since the seals were out of order, he had to link them together so that the seals would function in the right order. He didn't want to try and do the assembling before disassembling. Of course, each seal was layered with 5 to 10 security seals, and fake layers with even more security seals were incorporated, which made the 8 real layers hidden like needles in a haystack. There was about 100 layers total. Of course, one of the seals was a self-destruct seal that would destroy the entire seal if an enemy's chakra tried to unravel the seals. After drawing the seals, he carefully looked over the finished seal. He had layered and connected it so that it looked like the Uzumaki swirl. Tobirama didn't have a particular design for his, and his father had his seal designed to look like the kanji endurance, love, of sword. He didn't particularly understand why his father picked those kanji. After all, he used kunai, not a sword. Tobirama saw Naruto stare at the seal and stopped his rambling as he came over and started to look over it. After a few minutes he nodded. It looks good. Now you need to test it. If the test proves successful, then. He trailed off and blinked as he saw Madara, who was putting away his notepad. You need to memorize the seal perfectly. Tobirama finished. Were you taking notes? Tobirama questioned as he turned to Madara. Madara crossed his arms and scowled. Yes. Why? Tobirama asked, puzzled. Because it was interesting. Why else? You mean you actually understood what I was talking about? Yes. Some of it. I do dabble in seals. Madara has helped me before when I got stuck. Naruto spoke up and glanced around the room to see that Hashirama was starting to tune back in. He gathered up his seal and prepared to go find Kakashi so he could test the seal. Why have you never mentioned this before? Tobirama demanded. It never came up. Get over here and tell me what you think of this seal then. Tobirama commanded, pulling out his own notepad. Madara rolled his eyes but walked over and stared at the seal for a minute. Is that a seal allowing a user to open a portal to an alternate dimension? He questioned in stunned disbelief. Tobirama smirked. It would be if I had ever gotten it to work. Can you see why it doesn't work? Madara frowned and grabbed the notepad from Tobirama. Hashirama gaped. Please tell me I heard that wrong. You heard them right. Naruto spoke with a sweat drop as Madara and Tobirama started discussing the seal together. Well, they are only spirits, so it should be fine. Hashirama murmured as Madara chuckled a bit and Tobirama seemed smug. Naruto just gave a nod and decided to ignore the two spirits. That was the best course of action here. Right? PFT, who was he kidding? Getting far away was probably safer. Luckily, such a seal would be difficult to create, so hopefully Madara and Tobirama were not able to get it working. He and Hashirama left the two to discuss the seal as Naruto went to find Jiraiya so he could test to see if the Horatian worked. He could not test the seal with the ghosts because he needed someone else in case the seal didn't work. Jiraiya would be able to hopefully fix him if it went badly. Badly meaning he was deatomized and not reatomized. Or lost in another dimension. Or frozen in time. He was sure he got it right though. Tobirama also gave it his approval, so nothing too bad should happen. Jiraiya. You here? Yeah. What do you need? Jiraiya's voice called out. I'm ready to test the Horatian seal. Alright, come on down to the basement. Naruto made his way down to the basement, and saw Jiraiya was working on a seal. Naruto knew he was working on the located Edo Tensei, trying to figure how to weaken it or release the Edo Tensei after they were summoned. Jiraiya nodded and stood up. You ready? Naruto nodded. Alright, place the seal down and do it then. So he placed the seal down, and then walked to the other side of the room. He felt the slight flare on the edge of his sense and focused on the seal. An instant later he was on the other side of the room. Naruto looked down at his hands and saw that he still looked intact. Jiraiya started to circle around him and ask questions. How do you feel? Is everything working? Those sort of things. After he confirmed everything was still good, Jiraiya had him use the seal another few times to make sure he could use it properly, and then gave it his thumbs up of approval. So he returned back to his room where Tobirama and Madara were still discussing seals. The rest of the afternoon he spent memorizing the seal and practicing the quick application of it via chakra and scrapping the failed papers that proved he still needed to work on memorizing the seal. By the time he went to bed he was consistently making the seal. In the morning, he had to rememorize some of the seal as he had forgotten it. He would have just used his Sharingan, but Tobirama had scolded him, saying that he didn't need to cheat by using the Sharingan. Especially since Tobirama had mainly developed the Hiraishin to counter the Sharingan. So he spent another hour working on memorizing the seal, making sure he had it right. After he finally rememorized, he placed a storage seal on top of his Hiraishin tag and watched it. He saw how the storage tag reacted with the dimensional seal, bleeding through all of the layers and connecting with the seal. Naruto frowned and looked at his shoulder, staring at the way Tobirama's Hiraishin interacted with the storage seal, and saw the same sort of bleed through, how the storage seal reached through the layers to connect with the dimensional seal. Which was very interesting, since storage seals were their own dimension, but people were unable to enter them without going into stasis. The dimension seal used by Hiraishin was where the molecules were transported through before reassembled at the end location of where the tag was located. The travel seemed instantaneous to him due to being nothing but a pile of molecules, and for other people it seemed instantaneous due to the time seal. He and Jiraiya set out through Konoha, marking spots for quick traveling, Jiraiya making sure that the seals weren't too obvious and in good locations. The two of them even learned a couple old secret tunnels long forgotten about via Hashirama, who pointed them out. By the early evening they finished marking the various Hiraishin spots. Jiraiya grinned. Let's get ramen, my treat. Sure, Naruto said with a grin, always happy to get some ramen, especially if he didn't have to pay for it. The two walked to Ichiraku's. Naruto easily ordered 5 bowls to start with. So, how has your new story been doing? Pink Humiliation has been doing great. Seems that people really liked the story. Naruto snickered. The other day I was with my team, and Sasuke saw Kakashi reading the book and the name of it, and he was pissed. Especially once he read it, and saw that it was actually based off of him. People are wanting to see a sequel. Got any ideas? Naruto gave a thoughtful hum. What about that annoying shark song the kids have been singing in the street? Hashirama suggested. So Naruto relayed that to Jiraiya, who gave a thoughtful nod and pulled out a notebook, scribbling down, Humiliation, Shark Edition. I swear, you are a goldmine for new stories, kid, Jiraiya said with a grin. So, you're no longer working on Aika Aika? I still occasionally write for it, but this next book should tie up the series and bring it to an end, Jiraiya answered. Hashirama wrinkled his nose. I still can't believe that smut actually had plot. I can't believe Dara-chan convinced you to read it, Naruto responded to Hashirama. Tochi and Ayam already knew about the spirits. Back when he was younger he hadn't been so good at keeping the secret, and so they had ended up learning about his secret. Hashirama just sighed. He had help from Tobirama. Really? Yes, he said that the book had included stuff he had never seen before. Hashirama groaned out, burying his head in his hands. Why is that important? Hashirama gave a snort. He may not seem like it, but my brother was a playboy. Is a playboy. I didn't even know ghosts could interact in that manner. He trailed off with a shake of his head. Naruto's sweat dropped. I think I am moving away from that. What did he say? That Tobirama is a playboy, and that ghosts can play around. Really? The night aim, Jiraiya mused, a thoughtful look crossing his face. Hashirama just despaired. So, once you make it past the second round, I will train you in toad summoning. It will be a really useful skill. No, Hashirama said, becoming serious instantly. No? Naruto questioned, looking at the spirit. I will be teaching you Sage Mode. I have already discussed this with Madara and Tobirama, and they agreed this was the best training for you to receive before the invasion. So Naruto looked at Jiraiya and said, Hashi-chan has decided to teach me Sage Mode during that time. Oh, that's perfect, the toads can help with that. Hashirama frowned. The toads can help? Naruto parroted the question to Jiraiya. Yes, they taught me Sage Mode, well, partial Sage Mode. I never managed to fully complete it like Minato did. Demonstrate, please. The spirit requested, curious. Jiraiya grimaced. Sure, but I have to warn you that I am horrible at it. So they went to a training field and Jiraiya summoned two toads called Ma and Pa in order to enter Sage Mode. As soon as they started to gather nature chakra, Hashirama was horrified. No. Just no. How can you even think of pulling in nature chakra like that? When Jiraiya had finished and grew a bulbous nose with warts, Hashirama was beyond horrified and was becoming furious. How could you be so stupid? Using Sage Mode like that is an idiotic idea and you are damaging both yourself and the chakra around you. Even the toads are pulling the chakra wrong. Is this how they instructed you? I refuse to let them train Naruto in any form of Sage Mode. Obviously they don't know what they are doing. Hashirama shouted. Dutifully Naruto mimicked him and Jiraiya stared in shock. The two toads on his shoulders were pretty displeased as well at the young whelpling who thinks he knows the sage arts. Jiraiya dismissed them, telling them he would talk with them later. Don't think you are off the hook. You will be joining Naruto and learning Sage Mode. I won't stand for you desecrating nature like that again. Yes, Shodai-sama. Jiraiya said, cowed into submission via Naruto's mimicking. Good, now let's return to the house and finish preparing for the Chunin exams. With that the group returned to the house. We shall never speak of this again. They heard Tobirama declare as they entered. Agreed. Never speak of what again? Hashirama questioned as they entered. Nothing, the two quickly said, both looking incredibly guilty. What did you do? Naruto questioned. Nothing that we didn't fix, Madara reassured. Despite badgering the duo for the rest of the night, they refused to answer what they had been talking about. Naruto figured it hadn't been anything too bad if they weren't worrying about it. Chapter 45, Act 3. Hiruzen. He looked out at the Jounin teachers in front of him. For teachers in particular, he had high hopes for their teams being successful in the upcoming events. This at the moment was a mere formality. The paperwork was already filled by the teachers and would be submitted at the end. As the Hokage, he needed to make the exams look normal, or the plan to throw off Orochimaru would be ruined. The only two things his former student wanted was to destroy Konoha, and to get Sasuke for his eyes. He couldn't protect the boy directly without giving away the fact they knew Orochimaru's plans. Hiruzen would just have to rely on Naruto distracting his former student, and hopefully being able to delay Orochimaru enough for the nearby ANBU to respond. As you know, the Chunin exams will be starting in a little over 2 weeks. Now let us start with the rookie teams, he commanded before giving a nod to his son. Asuma. I, Asuma Saratobi, submit my students, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi, and Shikamaru Nara, to participate in the upcoming exams, Asuma stated, drawing some murmuring from the other teachers. A rookie team competing? They whispered to each other, confused as such a thing was almost unheard of. Teachers generally preferred to wait a year, like Guy did. Asuma was unaware of the invasion, and Hiruzen sighed. If he had informed his son, then he would have kept his team out. Perhaps keeping the rookie teams out would be better, but Orochimaru was clearly expecting Sasuke to participate. Which if he was going to have one team participate, then the other two should participate as well. I, Kurina Yuhi, submit my students, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Kiba Inuzuka, to participate in the upcoming exams. Kurenai spoke, a small smile on her face as she thought of her newest team. He was glad it was working out for her better than her old student, Yakumo Kurama. It was such a shame what happened to that girl. Perhaps he should have Jiraiya look into her situation after the Chunin exams were over. Like Asuma, Kurenai was unaware of the invasion for now. The two of them would be informed after the first part of the exams had begun, and it was too late for them to remove their students. More murmurs arose, whispering about the two rookie teams. Most of the other teachers were now looking expectantly at Kakashi, who was reading a pink book. Hiruzen gave a small cough and Kakashi looked up, blinking. I submit my team. Hiruzen knew Kakashi was just acting like his carefree persona to throw off any suspicion the other Jounin might have, but it was still irritating. He gave a small glare to Kakashi, who gave an eye smile. I, Kakashi Hatake, submit my students, Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, and Naruto Uzumaki, to participate in the upcoming exams. Kakashi, due to his close relationship with Naruto, knew of the invasion. He knew his team would be directly in danger, but he also realized that if they wanted a chance to catch Orochimaru, then they needed to offer up Sasuke as bait. Wait a minute! Irika, a Chunin who taught the class of rookies, protested. What is it? Hokage-sama, please let me say one thing. Irika paused only long enough to receive a nod from him before continuing. This may be presumptuous, but as for the 9 names just given, I was in charge of them during the academy. Admittedly, they were all students with ability, but it is too soon. They shouldn't be tested until they had more experience. I became a Chunin when I was 6 years younger than Naruto is now, Kakashi said, turning to the Chunin. Naruto is different than you. Do you want to crush Naruto, who was the last of his class? Kakashi's visible eye narrowed. Do not presume to know my students better than I do. Especially Naruto, he is easily the strongest of the rookies. That is just it though, they are rookies, new to the shinobi ways. He watched as Kakashi released a small amount of killing intent. They know more than enough to qualify for the Chunin exams. They only graduated a few months ago. Enough. Hiruzen finally spoke up, stopping the 2 shinobi from furthering their argument. The rookie teams will be ready in time. While some may not pass, they will learn and grow stronger from this. Irika frowned but bowed his head in acceptance. Let us continue on. I, Gai Mato, submit my students, Tenten, Lee Rock, and Niji Hyuga, to participate in the upcoming exams. Gai said, giving a grin and a thumbs up. Gai was one of the few Jounins aware of the invasion. Despite being loud and boisterous, the man knew how to keep a secret and was one of his most loyal shinobi. He listened as other Jounin submitted their teams, and wondered which of the teams would be able to withstand Ibiki's mind games. So many shinobi were slated to show up, twice as many teams as normal. Hundreds of teams would show up, and while a good half of them would be from Konoha, the other half was made up primarily of teams from the other main villages. Only about 5 of the 100 or so teams were actually from minor villages. Usually the makeup of the exams was 75% of the teams would be from the hosting village. He caught the eyes of Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma and motioned for them to stay behind. The 3 instructors did, standing at attention. As I mentioned earlier to Irika, the students will be ready in time. To do this, you will each trade your teams for a week for the next 2 weeks. In these 2 weeks you will train the other students and look for ways in which they can improve their skills. At the end of these 2 weeks we will gather them all here and give them their evaluation and recommendations for what they should train themselves in by the end. Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi all nodded. I understand, Hokage-sama. Good, inform your teams today, and you will begin the training tomorrow. The 3 Jounin vanished in a small swirl of leaves, Kakashi moving first, prompting the other 2 Jounin to follow his example. Annoying Hiruzen as the leaves sat on the ground, they couldn't bother to walk out, they had to shun-shin. Kakashi he shun-shined out of the room, inwardly laughing as he imagined the Hokage's reaction. It was the little things that were always the best. Still, at least he didn't leave via the window like Jiraiya tended to do. Kurenai and Asuma appeared next to him a moment later as he appeared at the memorial stone. I will take Kurenai's team first, and Asuma's team the second week. Which means I get Asuma's team first. And I get Kakashi's team. Asuma said, grinning. I can't wait to see how Naruto is doing. Let's go inform our teams then. Kurenai spoke. Kakashi watched as Asuma and Kurenai vanished in swirls of leaves. He turned after a moment and left to go to Jiraiya and Naruto's house. He knocked on the door. Who is it? Jiraiya called. It's me. The door opened and Kakashi continued. I'm calling a team meeting. Have Naruto grab Sakura, please. Alright, I'll let him know. Kakashi left off to the Uchiha district and found Sasuke training by himself, even though he told them to take the rest of the day off earlier before he was called by the Hokage. So he grabbed the boy, scolding him as he brought the boy to the team meeting spot and saw Naruto and Sakura waiting for him. Good, all of you are here. Tomorrow we will be starting something special. Kakashi started and sighed when he saw the amused glint in Naruto's eyes, purposely revealing he already knew what was going on. You will be trained for the next 2 weeks by Asuma and Kurenai. Asuma will work with you for 1 week, and after that you will be working with Kurenai. Eh? Why are we training with the other senseis? Won't they be working with their own teams? Sakura questioned. We are doing a team swap. Kakashi answered, waving a hand dismissively. But why? Sakura pressed. It's likely so the teachers can get a fresh perspective and to see if another teacher can determine if a student should learn something that their original teacher doesn't think about. Sasuke gave a scoff. Kakashi is the most experienced jounin between the three. What would the others be able to offer? Kurenai is the genjutsu mistress of Konoha. She is hailed to be the best at non-jujutsu genjutsus. Naruto offered. Which I don't need to learn since I have my Sharingan. She is also a skilled tracker, being able to easily spot hidden signs of a shinobi's presence. It's why she is the sensei of Hinata, Shino, and Kiba. They are to make a tracker squad. Because Kurenai often works with the TNI department, she is best friends with Anko Midorishi and is on a friendly acquaintance with Ibiki. He brought up to his student, disliking that Sasuke seemed to be dismissing Kurenai. Sasuke didn't look impressed. What about Asuma? Sakura questioned, looking interested. Asuma Sarutobi is one of Sandaime-sama's sons. He is a wind and fire user, and was once a member of the 12 Guardian Ninjas, which was created by the daimyo as a protection unit. Eventually the group was disbanded and Asuma returned to Konoha. He is an extremely skilled elemental jutsu user. At least Sasuke seemed somewhat interested in Asuma. Sakura seemed hesitant, but curious. Naruto of course was interested, but Kakashi knew that his fellow jounin wouldn't be able to point out anything new that the boy didn't already know. Genjutsu was ill-suited for Naruto. Asuma would probably be able to give Naruto some wind tips, but then again maybe not. It just depended on how skilled Madara was with wind jutsus, which the Uchiha apparently had known. Kakashi just shook his head. Naruto's gift to see spirits was so unfair. Kurenai, she stared at her students as they sat in front of her. They had been practicing taijutsu, just as she had told them to when she had been summoned. Kakashi, Asuma, and I have agreed to do a special training method for the next couple of weeks. Her three students looked up interested. Special training? Kiba questioned, leaping up. Yes, we will be switching teams. Starting tomorrow you will spend a week with Kakashi, and then a week with Asuma. They will be going over your skills and training you in what they think is best. This sounds beneficial. Why? Because we will be getting critique from other strong jounins. Shino spoke, nodding in approval. Yeah. We can show off how awesome we are to the other senseis. Kiba shouted and Akamaru gave a bark in agreement. Hinata just gave a small smile. It seems like a good idea, she added quietly. Kurenai smiled, glad her team was so accepting of the training they would be going through. Good to see you so eager. The three teams will be meeting at the Memorial Stone tomorrow. Asuma breathed out a cloud of smoke and looked at his students. He had just told them about the team swap and was now seeing how they would react. It was sad how predictable they were. Shikamaru gave his standard troublesome. Choji just looked interested and ate his chips. Ino frowned and seemed disinterested, saying that the other two jounins weren't worth her time, and that she was fine sticking with her clan techniques. Unfortunately, that seemed a sentiment that his students seemed to follow all too much. While their clan techniques were a good starting point, they really needed to branch out a bit more. Unfortunately, none of them were suited to wind or fire. They didn't even bother asking for help with learning the elements they do have. Ino had water, and both Shikamaru and Choji had earth. He offered to teach them how to start their elemental training, but they said they wanted to work on their clan techniques. Asuma drew in another lungful of smoke and gave a long breath out. Hopefully the other jounin would be able to motivate his team to improve themselves beyond their clan techniques. Chapter 46. Kakashi. He sighed as he got up and made his way over to the memorial stone where the three teams were gathering. He saw that Naruto and Sakura stared at the stone in respectful silence for a minute, while Sasuke ignored it. At least two of his students knew the importance of honoring fallen comrades. Though it was a given that Naruto would have a great respect for the dead. After all, they often treated him better than the living did. He frowned as he watched Asuma's team. Shikamaru leaned against a tree and stared at the sky. Choji ate his chips out of one of Naruto's food scrolls, and Ino was fawning over Sasuke earing Sakura's ire. Kakashi sighed, and he had been doing so good on working on Sakura's fangirl tendencies. His eye roamed over the training field and he saw Hinata and Shino make their way over to Naruto and start chatting with him quietly. Kiba didn't look happy at his teammates leaving him though. He watched as the boy stood in silence before shouting out at Naruto, calling him a dumbass dead last. Kakashi scowled, but he noted Naruto's vaguely amused expression. Don't insult Naruto, cha! He is way stronger than you, mutt! Sakura shouted, surprising the others that she came to Naruto's defense. Oh? Does this mean you're interested in the idiot? Ino questioned, flipping her hair. As if. He's my teammate, and Sensei has always told us that those who abandon their teammates are worse than scum. Kakashi beamed proudly and decided he needed to reward Sakura. He looked to his fellow jounin who were also taking the time to observe the kids, and they nodded. The three shined down. The students became quiet as they looked at them. Kakashi's team, with me. Asuma called out and left, his three students following after the man. Asuma's team. Kurenai called out, smiling as the three students followed her. So, you're Kurenai's brats, Kakashi stated, looking at the three kids. Today, you will be doing the bell test. He informed them, holding up 2 bells as he gave an eye grin. Bell test? Kiba questioned. Yes, the person who doesn't get a bell will be forced to play the role of Aharuk in Pink Humiliation. Kakashi gave an eye grin and ignored how the sky darkened around him. He seemed to be feeling particularly vindictive today. How odd. The 3 genin all paled and looked at the bells nervously. Well, you have until the timer goes off, Kakashi said, setting the timer to go off in 3 hours. The 3 scattered quickly, leaving him all alone in a clearing. He put the bells on his waist and pulled out Jiraiya's book and smiled as he read how Aharuk was forced to dress like a teenage girl who was obsessed with pink and sing an embarrassing song. Shino and Hinata attacked him. Shino used his bugs as a distraction, with Hinata keeping to his supposed blind spot. It seemed that they worked well together, but where was Kiba? Did they exclude him? Or did Kiba deny working with them? Ah, there he was. Kakashi substituted with a log as Kiba came barreling out of trees. The 3 continued to attack him, trying various strategies, but they failed to get the bells. Still, at least they were working together. Of course they should be. If they hadn't by this point, he would have been disappointed in Kurenai. Kakashi gave a frown, feeling as if he had somehow managed to compliment Kurenai with that sentence. But why were his thoughts like that? Kurenai was a fellow jounin and highly skilled, so why would he feel disgust when thinking of her? As if complimenting her was something to be avoided. His visible eye narrowed, something was wrong, and he needed to figure out just what was going on. Absent-mindedly he threw a few kunai at the genin, ignoring their yelps. He should visit Inoichi. Kurenai, she led Asuma's team to her training field and looked at the 3. How about we start with introducing ourselves? I'll start. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. I like genjutsus, and I dislike those who believe genjutsu is a worthless ninja branch. My dream is to successfully teach my team, and watch them become successful ninja. My name is Ino Yamanaka. I like Sasuke-kun and my clan techniques. I dislike Forehead Girl. My dream is to win Sasuke-kun's heart and become the head of the Yamanaka clan. Kurenai showed no reaction to it, but inwardly she frowned. It seemed Ino was a fangirl, but she would have to see if Ino let that stop her from becoming a better ninja. 2 types of fangirls existed, the detrimental kind and the useful kind. The detrimental fangirls let their crushes overtake their training and they became weak and were a liability. The useful kind used their crush as a motivation to get stronger. I'm Choji Akimichi. I like chips, and I dislike those who call me fat. My dream is to become a strong clan head. She gave a nod to him. Decent, had a bit of work ethic if he wanted to be a strong clan head. Did seem like he would be easy to taunt though. Shikamaru gave a sigh. Troublesome. I'm Shikamaru Nara. I like cloud gazing, I dislike troublesome stuff, and my dream is to be a completely average ninja, marry a non-troublesome woman and have 2 kids. Kurenai's sweat dropped. Shikamaru seemed to have no work effort, though he did know where he wanted to go in his life. Perhaps she should see if she could encourage him to work a bit harder. Thank you, now I want to see what you 3 know, so we shall be having a spar. We began a minute ago, she said, giving a smile as she disappeared in a shimmer, and the 3 genin realized that they were tied to a tree. Genjutsu, troublesome. Shikamaru stated, sighing and giving a small pulse of his chakra, breaking the simple genjutsu. Kurenai gave a nod as he broke himself free of the genjutsu, and then watched as he freed Ino and Choji. She weaved a couple small genjutsus messing with their senses. She watched as they came at her, and stood still as they missed her, being off by a few inches. They looked startled and Shikamaru tried to catch her in a shadow. She let the genjutsu version of herself continue to distract them as she sat in a tree. The Yamanaka clan heir was disappointing. As a member of the clan that specialized in mind arts, she expected the heiress to be able to realize that something was messing with her mind. Shikamaru took another minute, but he did realize that they were under more genjutsus and broke himself out of them. She allowed the genjutsus to fall, even if she could have kept them up. He seemed to have a talent for at least realizing he was in a genjutsu. Choji blinked as he stopped his ball technique, which he had used to try and land a hit on her. The three did have good teamwork, but overall they lacked skills outside of their clans. Taijutsu only now, she called out and rushed towards them, startling the three genin as they tried to defend against her quick attacks. After a few minutes she had the information she needed on their defense and backed away to see what sort of offense they would have. Ino had a very defensive style. She was meant to get some distance and to stay away. Not only that, but she always kept within 10 feet of Shikamaru. Shikamaru also was defensive, but he constantly scanned for openings and occasionally made a strike if he thought he could land it. Choji, on the other hand, was offensive, relying on Shikamaru and Ino to protect him as he made to attack. Finally, she called the spar done and told them to do as many laps around the training field as they could. It was time to check their endurance. Asuma stared at the three genin. They stared back. He would be working with Kakashi's students for the next week, and while Naruto might not be so bad, he was not looking forward to the Uchiha kid. He brought out a shogi board. He looked at the three and then pointed to the pink-haired girl, Sakura Haruno, if he remembered correctly. "Do you know how to play shogi?" She gave a nod. "Good, you will play against me and answer questions as we play. You have 30 seconds to decide what move to make while answering my questions." The girl nodded and sat across from him. "Name?" he questioned, moving a piece. "Sakura Haruno," she replied, moving a piece. "Favorite color?" "Red," she answered. Back and forth it went, and as the game progressed she became more distracted, either by answering the questions or trying to play the game. "Who do you like? Who do you hate? What do you think of your teammates? What is your favorite element? What do you want to do?" It was a barrage of questions, switching between different topics rapidly. The questions only ended when Asuma won the game, which lasted about 20 moves, 10 from each of them. "You next," Asuma said, point to Sasuke. "Name?" "Sasuke Uchiha." "Favorite color?" "Dark blue." Again Asuma asked questions and Sasuke answered. He managed to last a little longer, making the game last for about 30 moves. Both of the games were short games when the normal shogi game lasted about 100 moves. "Alright Naruto, for you we are dropping the time to 10 seconds, Asuma stated. "Okay. Name?" "Naruto." The boy answered with a cheeky grin. "Favorite color?" "Gray." "Who is your best friend?" "Deidara and Shino are both equal to me." "Least favorite person?" "Classified," Naruto retorted with a grin. Asuma chuckled. "What do you think of your teammates?" he questioned, making another move in the more rapid-paced game. "Sakura is alright, Sasuke needs to work on his attitude," Naruto replied, looking at him as he made his move, seemingly not paying attention to the board. "Favorite element?" "Fire, followed by wind." "What do you want to do?" "Become Hokage." "Who inspires you to be a better ninja?" "The shinobi who came before us." "How much chakra do you have?" "I don't know, a lot." On and on the questions went as they played, and Asuma started to ask the first random questions that popped into his head. "Do you like unicorns?" Naruto blinked for a second before shrugging. "No opinion." "Do you like writing?" "That's more something my godfather does." "Favorite genre? Books or movies?" Naruto questioned back with a grin. "Books." "Fictional. Movies?" "Same." Naruto answered, a smug smirk stretching across his face as he placed a piece. Asuma rolled his eyes and they continued playing. More questions were asked and answered. "Inarizushi or ramen?" "Both." "Pick one." "I like them both equally and will not say otherwise." "Checkmate." Asuma gave a sigh as he looked at the board. "Good job, you beat me in 84 moves." Naruto just chuckled. "That was a fun match, Asuma. It has been a while since we played." "And you have gotten better." "Well, I have played against Shikamaru." Asuma gave a nod and put away the shogi board. "Alright, I have finished my test to see how you three responded to pressure. Now I shall test your skills when you have different senses taken away. Sasuke, you will be blindfolded. Sakura, you will be deafened. Naruto, you will be blindfolded and deafened." The three nodded and he handed out the blindfolds and earmuffs. Once they were on, he started the fight. Immediately he noticed Naruto turned towards him. Sakura turned to him as well, and Sasuke took a second to locate him from Sakura's speaking. Yet the main question was how Naruto was able to know where he was, unless Naruto was a sensor or had training in sensory techniques. Asuma shook his family. That brat managed to do the impossible, it seemed. He fought against the three and saw how they fought with their senses taken away. Sasuke had his hearing, but ignored Sakura's advice on what to do, choosing to charge in or use a ninjutsu. Sakura didn't have her hearing and so couldn't hear Sasuke telling her to be quiet, that he didn't need her help. Naruto seemed to be trying to use both of his teammates' moves to actually corner him, but there was no actual cohesiveness between the three. Sasuke ignored his teammates, and nearly put Naruto into danger if the boy hadn't gotten away. Asuma shook his head, wondering if something was wrong with Sasuke mentally. He knew from Kakashi that the man had repeatedly tried to drill in teamwork to the stubborn boy, but nothing seemed to work. Sometimes something did for a few days, but after that the boy returned to normal. He would have a lot of work ahead of him this week to see if he could improve the three. Chapter 47. Kakashi. He dismissed the three genin he was currently teaching, watching how they collapsed with exhaustion. He needed to see Inoichi, immediately. He knew his thinking was changing, and it was becoming worse the longer he waited. He should have gone to Inoichi at the beginning of the week when he first thought of something as wrong. Kakashi had never trained Team 7 as hard as he had trained Kurenai's team, and he was pretty sure Hinata was terrified of him. They had improved a lot though under the week-long training session. He even started them on some things they could work on. Kiba, he had found the boy could be silent, and so he taught Kiba the hiding like a mole technique and recommended the boy focus more on infiltration. It would definitely be useful, especially with the boy's new technique. Kiba managed to transform into Akamaru when doing the man-beast clone technique under pressure. Now he could replicate it for a new technique. Hinata, he had learned, was working on a new Hyuga stance. Since the earth-based stance did not work for her, apparently Hinata had a fire element. He gave her a few ideas for how to improve her stances and weakness she currently had. Shino surprisingly had water affinity. This was learned when Shino asked him for a water jutsu. So Kakashi taught him the basics for the water wall jutsu. Kakashi walked away from the genin after summoning 3 shadow clones to help them home, though another part of his mind argued that leaving them to walk home by themselves would help make them stronger. He finally made it to the Yamanaka's flower shop and entered. "Hello?" Inoichi's head popped out from the back door. "Kakashi? What can I do for you today?" "Well, I think something is affecting my mind." Inoichi's eyebrow rose up. "That is worrying. I assume you tried dispelling a genjutsu?" Kakashi gave a nod, feeling insulted that the man thought he would fall prey to something weak like a genjutsu. Kakashi frowned at that. "It appears a lot whenever I see Kurenai, or someone mentions genjutsu. There is a strange hatred of the two." "Alright, well, come on back and I can take a look." Kakashi followed Inoichi to the back and sat down in the chair offered. "As you know, the use of my clan jutsu will put us in your mind. Because of this, I may end up seeing secrets that you are privy to. Any discovered secrets will not be used against you, and any classified info will be kept guarded in my mind. Knowing that I can learn classified info, do you still want to proceed?" "Yes, these thoughts are becoming more prominent." "Very well then. Mind exploration jutsu." Inoichi intoned, holding a hand seal. Kakashi looked around as he was pulled into his mind. He saw Inoichi standing next to him, also observing his mindscape. He appeared to be on an island. Where they stood was bright and sunny, peaceful and relaxed. But the other half of the small island was dark, lighting flashing down, and waves crashing against cliff walls. "Interesting, your mind appears split into two." Kakashi startled at that, looking inquisitively at Inoichi. "Split into two?" "Yes, it would seem that someone, or something is intruding upon your mind." A slow clap rang out. "Bravo, you figured it out." The two looked at the darker side of the island as a figure emerged from the shadows. He looked exactly like Kakashi, except his eye had a harder look in it, and he didn't exude a carefree aura like Kakashi normally did. The air around him was dark and little bits of lightning came from him. "Who are you?" Inoichi asked. "Kakashi Hatake." The man answered, his voice taking a mocking tone, as if Inoichi should have figured it out for himself. "How? You don't act like me." Kakashi questioned the other version of himself. "Obviously." The other version sneered. Kakashi decided to just refer to the other version of himself as Hatake. "From what I have observed so far, we are from different dimensions, in which things have gone differently." Kakashi gave a frown, trying to recall something Naruto had mentioned in passing the other day. Something to do with seals and Tobirama and Madara. As he remembered, he groaned. Those two idiots. Both Hataki and Inoichi looked at him. You know what happened? He waved a hand. I have an idea. Leave me with Hataki here and go get Naruto, please. He will be able to help since it was a sealing accident that caused this. Inoichi nodded. Very well. Hataki tilted his head. So your Naruto messes with seals as well? Yes, he does, Kakashi answered with an eye grin. Hataki returned it. Naruto is such a cute little menace. I wonder what sort of differences exist between our teams. The dark aura disappeared around his other self as the man seemed to lighten up with Inoichi gone. Kakashi shrugged. Why don't you tell me about your team? All right, I am the Jounin sensei of Team 7, the second team to ever pass my bell test. At first they were rough, but with training quickly became a cohesive unit that understands teamwork is important. Sasuke Uchiha is our resident water expert. Kakashi raised a questioning eyebrow at this, and so Hataki elaborated. During the massacre, Itachi burned down the Uchiha district, and this has left Sasuke with a fear of fire. After the wave mission, he has also started working on training with the Executioner's blade. Sakura Haruno has become our medic and is working under Shizen in the hospital. And Naruto created seals that would allow us to see the dead, and is working on creating a seal to allow us to hear them instead of just writing words. In particular, Tobirama has taken to spending time with us. Sasuke in particular has become his apprentice. Hataki informed, but Kakashi couldn't help but think some info was being left off. Your Sasuke works with his team? Kakashi questioned, deciding that it didn't matter if Hataki was keeping some stuff secret. Yes, a near-death experience helped with that. Kakashi nodded. Interesting. Well, like you, I am the Jounin sensei of Team 7, but they are the only team to ever pass my bell test. This was mostly due to Naruto being able to manipulate the other two to work together briefly. Sasuke is one of the worst kinds of Uchiha, stuck up and arrogant, very different from his father. Sakura has also taken up Ryujutsu, though I am unaware of who she is apprenticed under. Naruto is Konoha's spy master, as I'm sure you know, though he hasn't made a seal to allow us to see spirits yet. Hataki blinked. Konoha's spy master? Kakashi tilted his head. Yes, did your Naruto not become a spy master after he started seeing ghosts? My Naruto only developed the seal during the wave mission. Before he couldn't see spirits. You make it sound like your Naruto had the ability for a long time. He did, ever since he was a toddler. I don't know what happened though. But he has used this ability with the help of Madara, Hashirama, and Tobirama to benefit Konoha. Hataki looked at him. Your Madara helps Konoha? Yes, why wouldn't he? Hataki shrugged. I guess my Madara and Tobirama are a bit different from yours. So this is your mind, Kaka-sensei. Naruto spoke, appearing with Inoichi. Naruto looked at Hataki and narrowed his eyes. Why do you have two of you? Your guardian and Sat's brother. Kakashi deadpanned. Naruto shook his head. Alright, Inoichi, when you leave, can you say out loud, Naruto wants you to enter? After you say that, just leave us be, we can exit when we want. Inoichi gave a strange look but nodded. Classified reasons, I presume? He drawled. Yes. Inoichi just shrugged and disappeared. A moment later, and Kakashi watched as Madara appeared standing with his arms crossed. What is going on? Whatever you and Tobirama did was not fixed, Naruto said flatly, gesturing towards Hataki. Madara turned towards him and raised an eyebrow. Interesting, it seems that there were multiple instances then, and not just the one we fixed. Madara's sweat dropped after a moment. I hope there hasn't been too many instances. Kakashi gave an eye smile. Good to finally see you, and not just know you are reading over my shoulder. Madara snickered. Reading the old pervert's books are interesting. Hataki observed the interactions with a slight head tilt. You look quite different from my Naruto. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Do I now? Well, I'm not surprised. We have had different life experiences, I presume. Madara gave a scoff. Unless the other version of you was experimented on by Orochimaru with Edo Tensei eyes, then we can assume the other version of you is way different. Hataki's eye widened. Edo Tensei eyes? Yes. It's not a big deal, Naruto said, waving a hand dismissively. Kakashi of course filed that information for later. What about Mokutan? Do you have it? Hataki further questioned as Madara started wandering around, pulling out papers and making notes. Why would I have Hashi-chan's bloodline? My version of you does. Strange, But no, I doubt I can have the Mokutan. Why do you think that? Hataki asked. I already have a bloodline, Naruto answered shortly, making it clear he would rather not talk about it. Oh? What bloodline? Kakashi asked, interested, ignoring the raised eyebrow from Hataki. Naruto didn't reply. Madara sighed. You shouldn't keep it a secret from your sensei, Naruto. Naruto glared at Madara. Do not think of telling him, Madara. He does not need to know. Madara narrowed his eyes before smirking. Sorry, brat, but Kakashi should know that you have the Sharingan. Naruto huffed and turned away, not looking at any of them. Kakashi frowned and looked at Madara questioningly. He feels like if people knew they would think less of him, despite that he never actually uses it, Madara signed in response. Kakashi nodded and went over to Naruto. Is that all? I never seen you use the Sharingan, despite it being a powerful tool. Naruto just shrugged. I don't need it. Perhaps not, but you should never let a tool go to waste. Hataki spoke. Now I have too much scolding me. Naruto muttered, falling into a depressive cloud. Kakashi sighed. Naruto. You know you have people who support you, Jiraiya and I, your spirits, both the Hokage and Tsuchikage. Deidara and all the guards who have gone with you to your Janken tournaments. If you would actually let the rest of Konoha know how strong you were, they would overlook the fact that you hold Kurama. Naruto shrugged. I know, but I don't want Konoha to think I stole the Sharingan or anything. That's stupid. Idiots who believe that clearly don't know how bloodlines work, Hataki said, rolling his eye. Naruto, come look over the seal, Madara stated. Kakashi watched as Naruto went over to Madara and the two started going on about some seal jargon that went over his head. Finally the two nodded. Alright, the seal is ready to fix this. Will I return to my own conscious? You are just a copy of your dimension's consciousness. Your real self was unaffected by the dimensional rift Tobirama and I created. Hataki frowned at this. So if me being here will not affect my real self, then why should I leave? Because you are affecting my thoughts and actions and it is interfering with my day-to-day life, Kakashi answered. Hataki shrugged. It's not my fault that your mind is easily influenced by another set of memories. Kakashi frowned and wondered whether that was supposed to be an insult or a simple fact. If Hataki was anything like himself, then it was meant to just be a fact. Instead, he chose to question Hataki on the most important part that he was influenced by. Why do you hate Kurenai so much? Hataki scowled. She is the reason my first team died. Kakashi's eyes widened. What? Hataki shrugged. I was injured and right before my team's first C rank, Kurenai offered to go with them so they wouldn't have to cancel and pick a different team. She was a Tokubetsu Jounin, just promoted to that rank, but I thought she would be able to handle any difficulties that came up on the C rank. I was wrong. I see, still having you in my mind is detrimental. Hataki sighed. Just one last thing then that I wish to know. What is it? What do you know about our bloodline? Our bloodline? Kakashi questioned. Yes, the Tsutomuburing. I never even heard of it. The Tsutomuburing is the Jujutsu of the Rei clan, Madara answered. It is activated when the user is struck by a small zap. The Jujutsu allows the user to summon storm clouds and to call forth rain and lightning. Kakashi shook his head. I never activated it myself. Hataki just nodded. Are you sure I can't stay? Kakashi debated keeping Hataki around. The man had information about stuff Kakashi didn't know, but by doing so his own mind would be affected by the thoughts of Hataki. If you want Hataki to stay, we can create a seal that should minimize his influence. Kinda like the seal with me and Kurama. You would be able to chat, but your minds would be kept separate. It is certainly a tough choice. After all, how many people can say they had an alternate version of themselves inside their head? But did he really want Hataki to be in his head? After another moment, he made his choice. Chapter 48. Asuma. He gave a sigh as he looked over the teams. The first week was over and now they were once more switching teams. The first week had been quite busy. Kakashi's team was a handful to deal with. Sasuke was stoic and silent, but he kept glaring at Naruto and trying to be better than Naruto. Naruto wasn't that much better though, in that he chose to ignore Sasuke. Though Asuma had heard the rumors that these two fought when they did speak. Then there was Sakura, stuck in the middle. She obviously likes Sasuke, but it also seems that she had some respect for Naruto. And that made her hesitate in which side to pick. Still, even with his difficulties with getting them to work together, he saw some room for improvement in their skills. For Naruto, his use of fire was amazing, but his wind affinity was quite lacking. Asuma had to wonder where Naruto learned to use fire in such a manner. Only the Uchiha had ever mastered fire to such an extent. Perhaps Fugaku taught Naruto. They were somewhat close last he heard. Sasuke wasn't as skilled with fire, but he seemed to be learning a lot of taijutsu. Thing was, almost all of his skills were offensive, and he lacked defensive skills. Nor did Sasuke seem inclined to learn defensive skills. Sakura was learning medical ninjutsu, but her overall stamina and chakra pool was weak. She had a strong spiritual half, but her physical half was lacking. He had already set her to start a new morning routine that should help. He looked over at his students and saw that they looked decent. Shikamaru had a glint in his eye. Looked like he found something interesting. Ino was frowning and looking down at a notebook. Choji seemed the least changed of all. Finally, he looked at Kurenai's team. Who he would be getting next, they seemed run down. And they kept sending nervous looks at Kakashi, who was giving one of his eye smiles. Something had been off with him for the past week, but he seemed a bit better today. He gave a nod to the other two senseis and the three split, taking their new teams with them. Asuma gave a smile to Kiba, Shino, and Hinata as he pulled out his shogi board. Do you three know how to play? Kiba shook his head no, but Shino and Hinata both answered positively. Alright, then you will go last, Kiba. Watch as we play and I'll give you a basic rundown. Now Hinata, you will play against me and answer questions as we play. You have 30 seconds to decide what move to make while answering my questions. Sound good? Yes, Hinata answered. Let's begin then. Kurenai looked over Kakashi's team, which was very different than Asuma's team. For one, they were obviously a lot more motivated, but to counter that, they were way worse in teamwork. And that was just from an initial observation. She smiled encouragingly. Alright, let's start by introducing ourselves. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. I like genjutsus, and I dislike those who believe genjutsu is a worthless ninja branch. My dream is to successfully teach my team and watch them become successful ninja. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like my teammates. I dislike those who look down on me because I don't come from a clan. Sakura paused for a moment. My dream is to become a good medic nin. Kurenai smiled at Sakura and nodded, but it didn't escape her notice that Naruto seemed to be pretty happy when she said she liked her teammates. Perhaps that was a recent thing then. Nor did it escape her notice that he gave a small nod. It could be he had one of those thoughts. Still, at least she had a good work ethic, wanting to be a good medical ninja. Maybe she could teach her a few supplemental genjutsu since she obviously has good chakra control. Kurenai looked to Sasuke next, who gave an annoyed look. I am Sasuke Uchiha. I like my clan. I dislike those who disrespect my clan. I have no dream. Instead, my goal is to kill Itachi and bring him to justice for his slaughter of my clan. Sasuke muttered with a glower. Naruto scoffed at that and Sakura blinked and frowned a bit. It was quite a thing to state though. Obviously Sasuke was driven. But he wasn't driven for the right reason. What about after you kill Itachi? Kurenai questioned. I will work on rebuilding my clan. Kurenai gave a nod, though she frowned mentally. She would have to try and break him of his vengeance drive. Finally, though, her gaze turned to the last student. The boy gave a bright grin. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like a lot of stuff. I dislike those who judge others unfairly. My dream is to become Hokage. Very driven, perhaps too much though. She should try and make him less optimistic, and reach for a more reasonable goal. He was the dead last after all. It would crush his spirit to fail at being Hokage. You can do it, Naruto, Sakura said with a smile. Oh? What's this? Had a change of heart from a couple months ago. Sakura seemed to get flustered at that. Baka. That was before I knew how strong you were. Kurenai paused at that, wondering what Sakura meant at that. Either Naruto had gotten stronger from leaving, or had been better than what the academy reports had indicated. Thank you, now I want to see what you three know, so we shall be having a spar. We began a minute ago, she said, giving a smile as she disappeared in a shimmer, and the three genin realized that they were tied to a tree. Not a moment later the three of them broke out of the genjutsu. Sakura and Naruto by dispelling it, and Sasuke by activating his clan's jujutsu. It seemed he had fully evolved eyes. That was to be expected though after the massacre. He has had plenty of time to train his eyes. Still, he shouldn't rely on his eyes to break out of them. she could still target his other senses. She placed a small genjutsu on all of them and watched as only Naruto seemed to notice as he broke out of them before coming after her. The three were at least attacking together, but it was in formations and attack patterns that were obviously drilled into them. There was no flexibility in their attacks. A moment later she saw why. She left an opening for them, but they would need to break the pattern to do so. Naruto saw it and moved in to attack, but so did Sasuke, and he also moved in. The two ended up colliding with each other, and then Sasuke shouted at Naruto. Despite that, Naruto had been the one closer to the opening. Kurenai sighed as she used this time to knock Sakura out, Naruto being the one who tried to stop her. If Sasuke hadn't been so distracted by yelling at Naruto, he would have been able to help. How disappointing. The three of them were skilled, but they lacked teamwork. Mostly due to the Uchiha, it seemed. As she dodged a jutsu from Naruto, she sighed. Taijutsu only now. First she tested their defensive capabilities, before their offensive capabilities. Sasuke was an offensive person. He mostly evaded attacks instead of defending, but it worked with his Sharingan. Naruto was of course surprising in that he had high defense, offense, and good evasion skill. Yet some of his moves seemed similar to Sasuke's taijutsu, but others were completely different. It seemed he was mixing two taijutsu styles together, which was very advanced for a genin. Sakura had a more academy-style taijutsu, but she saw a finesse in her movements and a few non-textbook moves that showed she was improving. Decent defense and offense for a genin, but nothing special. Finally, she called the spar done and told them to do as many laps around the training field as they could. It was time to check their endurance. Kakashi looked down at the three students. So, you're Asuma's brats. Today, you will be doing the bell test, Kakashi said with an eye grin as he held up two bells. Bell test? Ino asked. He snickered and let a dark aura come out, watching the three students shiver. It seems like Hatake was useful after all. Get on with it, Hatake prodded as Kakashi continued to build suspense. Yes, you three will be fighting me to get these bells. As there are only two bells, whoever doesn't get one will be forced to play the role of Aharuk in Pink Humiliation. The three students eyed the bells nervously and shared glances. Well, you have until the timer goes off. He spoke with a grin, setting the timer to go off in 3 hours. An hour passed with none of the three making an appearance. I wonder what they are planning, Kakashi thought to Hatake, who he had decided to keep around. Hokage-sama still had to be informed, and it would be his decision that either kept Hatake around, or got rid of him. Kakashi hopped the Hokage allowed Hatake to stay. I don't know, in my world the three had developed a few good trapping strategies. Well, they need to come to me to get the bells, so I will wait to see what they are planning. Another hour passed, and Kakashi had moved to sit in a tree as he read an Ika book, though he had heard that Jiraiya was working on a new book for the Humiliation series. The timer went off and there had been no sign of the three. Kakashi blinked and searched for the three missing students and found them nowhere on the training field. Those three brats just left? Kakashi spoke out loud. Static fizzled around him, charging the air as his eye narrowed. Oh, that is it, they are going to pay. At least they showed teamwork in their running away, Hatake spoke up with a snicker. The next hour he spent hunting them down. When he found them, he made his presence clear, and fully utilized Hatake's scary aura skills. He chased Asuma's brats all over Konoha for the rest of the day, not letting them have a break longer than a couple minutes, but not catching them either. When night fell, he gathered them up and told them to meet bright and early at the gate at 5 a.m. The next morning he only met them briefly to tell them to do warm-ups with Guy and Lee. Then he sat back and smirked as the three genin tried to keep up with the two taijutsu users, as at first they had to run, and then try and do the push-ups and sit-ups. After 3 hours of that he gathered them back up and watched as they collapsed. Now that you have done your warm-up, let's start our training for the day. Ino, Shikamaru, you two are going to run laps around the training ground while my clone chases you and throws kunai and shuriken at whoever is the slowest. Choji, you will be sparing against me. Start running, Kakashi said with a vicious eye grin as he created a clone. Let it be said that he can be extremely petty when he wanted to be. Hatake gave great advice as well. Shikamaru yelped as a kunai hit him. Choji whimpered as Kakashi started sparring with him. For the first 10 minutes he observed Choji's fighting style, and then for the rest of the hour he pointed out weaknesses and things that could be improved. About halfway through the hour dedicated to Choji, his shadow clone popped, and the memories of Ino and Shikamaru setting a trap and dispelling his clone returned. So that's how they want to play it. Kakashi summoned 2 shadow clones which shared identical looks as they leapt into the forest to hunt down the 2 troublesome students. Yelps of pain greeted his ears a couple minutes later, and he chuckled. After Choji's hour was up, he took Ino and worked with her for an hour, before working with Shikamaru. I think this will be a very fun week, Kakashi thought with a vicious grin as he gathered up the 3 exhausted students. 1 hour break for lunch, and then we will be taking 3 D-rank missions. Asuma's team groaned and collapsed, ripping into the food Kakashi handed them. Hey, just wait until they see what missions we have lined up for them. Inuzuka kennel cleaning, waste management, and finally sponge baths. Ah yes, he could be so very petty. Chapter 49. Asuma. So this is it, huh? Asuma muttered to his fellow jounin as they gathered together at the end of the week. The past 2 weeks had been pretty intense, with a lot of training going on. Yeah, it is. Kakashi nodded. Shall we get started with our assessments then? Sure, Sakura, come on up for your individual assessment. The 3 teachers watched Sakura as she walked up to them, clearly nervous at being the first one called up. Sakura, from my observations you have a strong mind, but your body lacked physical training, so I set you to do a new morning routine. How is that working out for you? Asuma asked. It's going great, Asuma-sensei. Even though it's only been 2 weeks, I feel a lot better. Good, keep up the routine for the next month, and then increase the amount a bit. With you taking up Irujitsu, you are well on your way to becoming a Chunin. Sakura beamed happily. Now, with me I taught you a couple of genjutsus to supplement your current skills. Genjutsus will never truly be your strength, but you can make a great sub-skill out of them. I would recommend only mastering the 2 genjutsus I taught you. Now, Sakura, you were my student first, and I can say that I have seen a lot of development from you. As such, you deserve a reward. If there is something you want, let me know, and I will see what can be done. For now, I believe you are doing well, and to continue with what you are currently doing. Sakura nodded excitedly. Take your time to decide, Kakashi said with a nice smile as he dismissed her. Kiba, come on up, Kurenai called out. Your skills are improving, Kakashi said with an eye grin as Kiba walked up, his steps and chakra hidden to mask his presence. Kiba gave a fanged grin. I really enjoyed being able to sneak up on people. Kiba, while with me we worked on a technique so that you could transform into Akamaru. Have you refined that technique anymore? Yeah, I have, Kiba answered, but didn't elaborate. While you worked with me we discovered you had a wind affinity and worked on a couple wind jutsus. I recommend you keep up developing that new technique of yours. It will be a great benefit in the upcoming exams. Kurenai gave a nod. I agree, continue training in what they were teaching you for now. They dismissed Kiba. He sure improved a lot under you too. Well, Kiba seems to have an inclination for infiltration, despite being loud. I just helped to refine those skills and pointed out to him. Kakashi pointed out, waving a hand dismissively. Ino! Kakashi barked out with a small chuckle of amusement as the girl jumped in surprise before rushing over. Geez, you have it out for my students? Asuma questioned as he saw how nervous Ino seemed around Kakashi. They annoyed me. Asuma winced. Kakashi had always been petty, but for some reason his pettiness had increased. Ino, with me I increase your physical strength and push you past your limit daily. I believe I have also given you a glimpse that the ninja world isn't all roses and sunshine, that you will be forced to do disgusting things that you won't want to do. Remember this lesson and reflect upon it. Asuma watched as Ino shuddered, a look of horror crossing her face. What did you do to her? He whispered to Kakashi as Kurenai spoke to Ino. While you had been with me we went over your current skills and decided what you could do to improve it. You decided to focus on poisons. How is that coming along? The more unsavory deranks, Kakashi answered with an eye grin. I think I am doing decent. Wow, my team really annoyed you, huh? They ran instead of doing the bell test. Asuma winced as Kurenai shot him a pointed look. Ino, I hope you've taken the lessons given to heart, and if you need help understanding then you should speak with one of us, or your father. With that said he dismissed Ino. Shino, you're up next, Kurenai called out. Shino walked up and looked at them silently. When you were learning from me, you were forced to learn how to dodge, and that you can't always count on your bug clone to trick your enemies. You also already know your affinity for water techniques, which is uncommon in an Abirame. So I taught you a technique and helped you learn what you needed to do in order to strengthen your water affinity, Kakashi said. While you were training with me we mainly focused on strategy and using your available resources innovatively. While we didn't so much work on ninjutsu or taijutsu, the skills of the mind should not be dismissed so easily. Kurenai smiled. A water affinity sounds like it will be very beneficial if you can learn how to use it with your Kikachu. Shino pushed his glasses up. Do not worry about that, sensei. Why? Because I have already started the process of mutating my Kikachu to be of a water variant. That's wonderful news. Alright, head on back. Kurenai said, dismissing Shino. Choji. Asuma called, waving the rotund boy over. Kurenai smiled. While with me you proved to have quite decent chakra, stamina, and endurance. This is good for your more offensive style, but I also pointed out that you were quite short range and only focused on your clan's taijutsu and techniques. Have you found something to help improve upon that? Yes, actually. Thanks to Kakashi, I have found a weapon I will be buying. That sounds good. I look forward to seeing what sort of weapon you picked out, Asuma said. Choji just gave a nod. How did your time with Choji go? Asuma asked Kakashi. Same sort of lesson as Ino, nothing new. With that they dismissed Choji and called forth the next student. Naruto. Naruto walked up to them, his arms crossed and a blank look on his face. Next to him Kakashi sighed. Knock it off, brat. Naruto stuck his tongue out, but he did seem to relax an impish smile on his face. When Naruto was with me we focused on advancing his wind chakra. Asuma answered. With me I helped to refine his genjutsu breaking skill. I was fairly surprised by just how good Naruto's chakra control was though. Really? Oh, I suppose that's right. You aren't as familiar with Naruto as Kakashi and I are, Asuma said. I'm sure you have a list of things you will be working on. Just make sure to not overwork yourself, Kakashi said, waving a hand dismissively. Shikamaru! Kakashi called out, getting the lazy student to make his way over. When I spent a week training with Shikamaru I discovered he was very talented at genjutsus. I recommend he learns genjutsus to complement his shadows. I just helped to remove some of his laziness, Kakashi answered flippantly. Troublesome sensei. Shikamaru grumbled in agreement. Asuma nodded to Kurenai. I will make sure that Shikamaru continues to learn genjutsus then. Hinata, you're up next, Kurenai called out after they dismissed Shikamaru. The girl walked up and she actually looked different than she used to, though only slightly. Hinata now had a bow staff on her back. Hinata, while working with me, learned that her Hyuga stance was ineffective due to having a fire element instead of an earth element, so we worked on creating a new style to suit her better, and I taught her the Great Fireball Jutsu. I further improved her new stance and recommended getting a bow staff to help fend off attackers. While she just has a regular staff now, I recommended that she save for one that can channel chakra. Alright, I will help Hinata further develop her new stance then. Is there anything you would like to add, Hinata? No, sensei. What Kakashi-sensei and Asuma-sensei said has covered everything. Hinata spoke in a soft voice. Alright, you're free to go. Now for our most troublesome student. Asuma muttered to his fellow jounin. Sasuke. Kurenai sighed slightly as Sasuke walked over. Asuma raised an eyebrow as the teen glared at Kurenai. Seems he didn't like the genjutsu mistress for some reason. Sasuke, while training with me I recommended you learn some defensive jutsus. Have you found anything? Asuma spoke up. The Uchiha crossed his arms and scowled. No. Did you even bother to look? Kurenai questioned. No, Sasuke once more said. Asuma sighed. I would recommend the next level of Earth Dome, the double-layer Earth Dome. HN, Sasuke grunted. While Sasuke was with me, I helped him to learn how to break out of genjutsus without relying on his eyes. Sasuke growled. You mean you tortured me with those genjutsus? Kurenai gave a smile and Kakashi and Asuma shuddered. Nonsense, I only helped increase your mental fortitude. You showed me Naruto's and Sakura's death. You forced me to watch myself kill them. It's not my fault that is your greatest fear, Kurenai commented, looking down at Sasuke. If you care so much about your teammates that losing them is your greatest fear, no losing them by your own hand, then you should perhaps act like you care around them. Kurenai's gaze was sharp as she stared at Sasuke. If you don't, you may push away your teammates permanently. That's what I want. I don't want to be friends with them. Why do you not want to be friends with your teammates? Kurenai questioned. Do you see yourself above them? She added tauntingly. If I become friends with them, I'll be tempted to kill them for power. Sasuke shouted back angrily, before he froze as he realized what he said. Kill them for power? Asuma asked. Sasuke gritted his teeth and remained silent. He is talking about the Manjikyu Sharingan, Kakashi answered. It is a common belief that you have to kill your best friend to get it. Kakashi raised his headband and Asuma watched in shock as they Sharingan eye twisted and formed a new design. It was gone a moment later and Kakashi covered his eye again. Why you? Sasuke stuttered out. Kakashi narrowed his visible eye. My teammate threw herself in front of my attack, in order to protect Konoha. Despite that I have this eye and its power, do you see me using it? No. Sasuke answered the question. Exactly, you do not need to have the Manjikyu Sharingan in order to be strong. Besides, bearing the eye brings a terrible price the more you use it. Using the eye makes you go blind. Is there a way to stop the blindness? Kurenai asked. Kakashi hummed. Well. He paused and Sasuke and Kurenai leaned in closer. Asuma rolled his eyes. I don't know. Kakashi finished with an eye smile. Why are you like this, sensei? Sasuke questioned, shaking his head. Ma, just relax, Sasuke. Kakashi said with a chuckle, earning a glare from the young teen. Kakashi straightened up, turning serious. Sasuke. Don't keep pushing your teammates just because you think you will be tempted to kill them. Naruto will stop you if you try to harm him or Sakura anyways. Sasuke gritted his teeth. How is the dobe so strong? Well, he has been training for years, he just never bothered to do well in the academy since the stuff was so easy. Why didn't he graduate early then? He didn't want to, though I don't know why. Well, go back to the others. Kakashi said, waving Sasuke away to the other students. The Chunin exam starts in 2 days, do you think 1 day is enough of a break? Asuma questioned, looking at the other two. It will have to be. Kurenai answered. Alright, let's tell the kids to take tomorrow off then, no training allowed. Kakashi said. The three walked over to the students who were waiting to be fully dismissed. We have went over your individual assessments. As you know, the Chunin exams start in 2 days, so tomorrow you will have the day off, no training allowed. Rest up and prepare yourselves. Asuma commanded. The students nodded. Good, you're dismissed. The rookie 9 all left quickly, splitting up and heading in all different directions.